Hello everybody, and just here and welcome back to Shinmai Renkinjutsushi no Tenpo Keiei. If you were wondering where I was the past couple of weeks and you haven't read the community posts, weren't there for the Neural Cloud streams, the long and short of it is that I was sick. I'm still on antibiotics, my throat and my nose are all still kind of fucked up. But I'm in a good enough of a shape, I think, to go back to recording things, and I'm going back with the Management of a Novice Alchemist because it's a fairly light-hearted, maybe not necessarily light-hearted, but it's a fairly light series to make videos on. So, to get back into the swing of things, we're starting with this. And what happened in the previous episode? In the previous episode, Sarasa had a bit of a, not a scuffle, she had an issue, she had a problem with a trader that also appeared in the village, who was buying out all the fangs or horns? Fangs. I think fangs of the ice bats, driving the prices up, trying to get Sarasa out of business, with the ultimate goal of getting Sarasa into his debt, into his servitude, essentially, exactly the same way that he was doing to many other young, promising alchemists. He had the misfortune, however, of trying his luck with Sarasa, and Sarasa showed us that she's not a protagonist of this show for nothing. She very much deserves the rank of a protagonist. Got out of this whole situation safely, and even turned a profit, if I'm not mistaken, because the guy had to sell her all his fangs for super cheap because nobody would buy them, because Sarasa flooded the market. It was cool. I really did like seeing this supply and demand kind of shenanigans, Sarasa versus capitalism, which is exactly as I titled the previous episode. Today, I don't know what's gonna happen. I really don't. Because this series is very, very episodic. There were scant few episodes that had any sort of continuity between them, and mostly it was just the case of episode N. The world was destroyed. Episode N+1, they're repairing the wall, and that's about as much as it goes when it comes to continuity. I wonder if we're going to continue this trend of just issue of the week, problem of the week, adventure of the week, or are we going to see some, maybe not necessarily deeper, but some more, some bigger arc, or maybe we're going to tap into this initial premise of the series, this initial like overarching arc of the series of Sarasa trying to go through all of those tomes of the alchemical tomes. Hopefully the limiter works on my mic. Yeah, I'm gonna be coughing every so often. Hopefully not too often, but it is what it is. Yeah, we have this whole overarching plot with Sarasa going through all the tomes, so maybe she's going to go through like the first tome, maybe she's going to complete that. We have like 3 episodes. I think it's a 12 episode core, not a 13 episode core. So we have episode 10, today's 11 and 12. Yeah, should be fine. Should be fine if we decide to start something bigger in today's episode. If they don't, if we continue with Adventure of the Week, I mean, that's perfectly fine by me. And now, enough chit chat. Let's get to watching it. And to do that, you're going to need the subs, of course. I'm going to need the sound, and I'm going to need to untangle the cable. And I'm also going to ask you for your support, monetary, Patreon, throne links in the description or not. Share my content, spread the word, costs you nothing, helps the channel, especially now that YouTube will surely penalize me for not making videos for this long. So every bit of help, even if you watch this video somewhere in the background, minimize the tab and whatnot, that's gonna help for sure. And with that out of the way, we can start watching episode 10. I'm just gonna double check that. Episode 9, sorry, episode 9. So we have 4 more episodes. That makes more sense. Episode 9 of Shinmai Renkinjutsushi no Tenpo Keiei in 3, 2, 1, go. Open. Dragonfly. Is it full? Probably not. Frostfangs is a one thing, but not everybody makes... Yeah, exactly. It's autumn. Now we're gonna have to figure out warming hats. AKA normal hats. Make me a sandwich. Yeah, she wants to be helpful. I mean, sure, but does your father need to go this often? You alchemicked out a phone or something? Wouldn't surprise me, honestly. Or rather, what is surprising is that they don't have any magical, alchemical means of long distance communication. Usually you have some sort of like a crystal bowl or a familiar or some means of doing that. But it seems like they're just relying on regular post, regular letters being sent by Loria's father. Not even sand, just carry to South Straug. Yeah, now that I think about it, there's a surprisingly small amount of devices in general. Like, we have the heating plate. That's about it as far as devices go. Right? Interesting. There's no, like, magical stand mixer or anything of that sort. Oh, there you go. A phone. So, a phone. Yeah, a fancy phone box. Okay, that's cool. Probably super expensive. Or uses extremely rare. Yeah, super expensive. Unlikely that anybody in the village would be able to afford it. Okay, at least for once she's not the butt of the joke. Or watch her drop it. How did I know that? Yeah, they require power to be poured into it. Warming huts, warming shoes, like permanently warm gloves. That would be amazing. Cold gloves is like the worst thing. But it's dangerous to go alone. Okay, I'm not peeking super much when coughing. That's good. Hopefully, it won't destroy your eardrums. I mean, yeah, the more risk, the more reward. A plot point, possibly. Fruit trot bee honey. Okay, whatever you say. Oh, fruit rot, not fruit rot. Gotcha. Symbiotic relationship. Yeah, on the same hunting grounds, essentially. Right. Insect repellent veils. Antidote. Do you wanna risk it? Why do we have nets? You only need honey, not the bees. Unless you procure the honey by, like, squeezing it out of the bees? I don't know. Okay, exactly as I thought. Going through the alchemical works. There we go. Self-development for both of them. That's some nice leather. That's some really nice leather. Some magical sewing machine would probably be cool. Time to introduce the world to Industrial Revolution. Didn't the Industrial Revolution start with sewing machines? I think so. The entire swarm moves out at once in search of. Oh, I thought that was their hive. Oh, maybe that's the feeding grounds, the Frostfang Bat Cave. And now they're trying to track them to the hive. Gotcha, makes sense. And, of course, and the bees will use this chance to sting her. Probably. Oh, so that's the hive. That's single tree housing a swarm this big? I don't know, maybe. Yeah, floating tent. And you're separated from ground. So any sort of bugs and stuff doesn't have a chance to crawl in. A lot. I mean, adventurers would love it. Besides that, yeah, if you display it, even if someone can't buy it now, they could also make it their goal to one day be able to afford it. That, and even the adventurers themselves might be able to come up with some ideas. Right? They see a floating tent and they're like, hey, can you make me floating shoes? Or something, right? Oh, probably cooling backpack to store food so it doesn't spoil. Oh, probably poisonous or something. It's not food, it's an alchemical ingredient. Okay, so we have an issue of this week. Trying to make enough antidote for everybody. Yeah, I mean, okay, so you better alchemic out a second toilet out of your cauldron or create some double seater. Just as I thought. Dig yourself a hole. Another idea for an item: portable toilets. I mean, true, she should have. Honey is presumed to be delicious, so it's very expensive. Yeah. Yeah, actually, good idea. Instead of creating a panaceum, just create a simple, cheap, targeted antidote. Ah, with the beautiful friendship they have, she still cares. That's a lot. Okay, what's the catch then? Yummy, yummy bug soup. No. Okay, so it's probably gonna be disgusting, but at least cheap and works. That's the that's the uh that's the trade-off. Just I don't know, add some mint or lemon or something to make it better. You're stinking up the place. Man, I love pills. You don't feel, you don't taste pills, you just swallow them and that's that. Okay, so that problem solved. I mean, probably, who wouldn't? Okay, so it doesn't work immediately. You're both gonna shit yourselves if that continues. It's a toilet. As I thought. Perfect idea. Yeah. Portable toilet, portable. I mean, tents are already portable, but this one is even more so. A lot. 100k. Was it? No, 500k for the voice box, 100k for the tent. And yeah, there are buyers. Of course there are. If something you make is worth buying, there are gonna be people who buy it. Yeah, don't try eating ingredients. Whomst. Someone they know? Oh, okay. You probably disappeared and they were looking for you? Cliffhanger. That also works. Okay, so a bit of a cliffhanger for the next episode. Do they have good relationships with their parents or do they not? That's probably the biggest question here. And my bet would be that they do. My bet would be on a subversion of the trope of not having good relationship with one's parents. So common in anime. Wouldn't surprise me if they tried to, subvert it, especially with how they presented their parents. Very ominous presence out of nowhere. So there's a lot of tension, and then snap, tension disappears as the parents just go for the hug of their children, and you know how it is. Plenty of anime already subverted that thing. Okay, she's not in the red this time around. And that's that. And that's that. There's never any after credits scene, so we can safely watch it again. Shall we? Yes, we shall. That's always the answer to my question. Uh-huh. Decreasing the display space for cooling hats, of course, because autumn comes. I wonder if the dragonfly is some sign of the seasons changing, of autumn coming, of the summer ending. Usually, it's I don't know if a trope, maybe, probably, possibly a trope, but it's something I notice that very often when there's a talk about seasons changing or something changing, or any change whatsoever. The scene or couple of scenes before then, something happens that's seemingly insignificant, but the main character pays attention to it, and that's the signifier of the change, right? Like, you have the main character, I don't know, uh, cleaning up the porch or something, standing there with a broom and removing dust, right? And then sees some bird flying. And then the next scene, he's like, "Oh, summer is coming. It's time to plant some, I don't know, uh, something, cabbages or whatever, right?" Or the main character is doing the dishes and sees the first flakes of snow falling from the sky, and then the next scene they're talking, "Oh, winter's coming, it's time to stock up on food," or whatever. This is very similar, where she sees the dragonfly, smiles, and then there's a talk about how autumn is coming. That in itself, it's not significant that she saw the dragonfly and said that it's time for autumn. It's autumn time, uh, but I don't know. It's interesting observation, I guess. And maybe if perhaps in Japanese culture, dragonfly signifies autumn, something like that, or maybe in this world, that's also a possibility. Say slow down due to that matter with Greedilly? Probably not, because sure, Greedilly bought a lot of Frostfang fangs, but he didn't turn them into hats, so it's not like the market is flooded with them, right? Far as we know, Sarasa is the only supplier. But yeah, cooling hats would be a seasonal item indeed. But yeah, now there's an issue of trying to figure out what can you sell in the autumn. Too cold to be selling cooling items. Uh, probably not. Probably still too hot to be selling heating items. What do people need in the autumn? Probably some raincoats, some rain repellent, maybe. Some dryer, magical dryer, some mud repelling shoes, things like that, things to do with autumn. Heated tent, that's another idea. Magic box. I'm glad we're seeing more and more devices. And I guess it makes sense that we don't see that many of them. Just the heating plate, the like cleaning sigil in this house that we've seen in the first episode or the second one. I don't know. This thing, this voice box, because they're expensive, they take a lot to make. It's not something that Sarasa can just mass produce willy nilly. And I guess it makes sense. She isn't just magicking those items out. She needs proper resources to create them. If a vacuum cleaner needs the scales of a vacuum dragon, it's probably not going to be easy to procure it. You're going to have to kill the vacuum dragon, whatever it might be, and then you can turn that scale into a vacuum cleaner. But then, perhaps there are better uses of it. Maybe you can turn it into a weapon or an armor or some potion or something like that. And would you really waste such a precious resource for a vacuum cleaner? Something that sure is more convenient than a broom and does a better job, but does it really calculate, right? Is the benefit really proportional to the cost of the item? Yeah, makes sense in retrospect that there aren't that many devices around. Haha, funny. Yeah, costs a lot to use. Yeah, that's another thing. It doesn't just cost to make it, it costs to use. You need to use like magic crystals, and you have to have enough magic power to operate it. The cooling hat, far as I understand it, it takes the cooling properties of the bat fangs that themselves are cooling, so it doesn't need like a steady supply of power from the user, but something that needs to be operated, like the voice box, like the heating plate. Although no, heating plate uses some heat crystals. But yeah, something like the voice box, or I think in one of the past episodes we had a bit of a discussion about magically operated well, right? Something like that needs a lot of power from the user. So that's another thing that would make items like that not commonplace. How many people are there around that can operate a voice box like this? Probably not many. You probably need to have at least some education in magic or alchemy or something like that, or some talent that you were just born with. Your everyday farmer probably won't be able to run it, right? Ingredients. Uh-huh. Yeah, the more dangerous the beast is, the more valuable are the ingredients. Makes perfect sense that it is the case. But if you're not strong enough to fold these beasts, then you are relegated to gathering lower price ingredients. Fruit rot bee honey. They go after fruits stored by frost fangs. Uh-huh. Purchase price greatly exceeds regular honey. Of course, there's a risk. Antidotes. If things go poorly, you could die. If you eat too much of the honey, for example. Which reminds me of an actual, like, existing species of a bee that feeds on carrion. Those bees eat, like, rotting flesh of animals in the forest or wherever they live. I don't remember if they're a forest species or a plains species. I don't know. Regardless, they do feed on rotting meat and they make honey of that. And if I'm not mistaken, it's not the tastiest honey around. It distinctly smells of rot as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. I might have gotten my facts wrong about the honey, but I'm 100% certain of the species of the bee existing. So that's interesting to see some parallel to that. Why do they need the nets again? I don't know. Most important thing for expanding the shop's sales, self-development. Of course. The better you become at being an alchemist, the better things you can make, the more you can make them, the more efficient you can make them, the less chance of a failure, the more profit. Makes perfect sense. And yeah, her alchemical work. Finally, we're getting back into the like overarching plot that was set up in the first few episodes. First few, I think so. It was set in the first episode. Yeah, when Sarasa went with her master to purchase the tomes, and where when the master bought Sarasa this atelier, essentially. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it was very first episode, and now we're finally entering it back. And Loria has her own quest of making some dishes that she hasn't tried to make. I wonder if this text can actually be translated. I wonder if anybody actually get a hold on those letters, on those symbols, and does this text actually say anything, or is it just lorem ipsum? Those letters still look all too samey to me. It's a bunch of random letters with F propended to them. Fi, 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 tooth. That's different. That one bit didn't have an F in it. Is there any sort of artifact out there to make stitching leather together easier? If not, you can make it. That's a really nice looking leather. It has a texture that's distinctly like an anime like, but the folds and the thread going through it, I don't know why, but I really like it. I don't know why, but I really do enjoy this shot of leather. Weird. Yeah. Burning chalk, magic circle, boil it in the magic cauldron. Haha, comedy, but very useful comedy because they found the nest. Floating tent that just unfolds itself, doesn't need any support, can float a few centimeters off the ground. I wonder how high it can float. And can it float anywhere or only over the ground? Can you like put it up in the middle of a lake to safeguard yourself from all sorts of critters that might want to get in? Right? Or could you float it up like really high in the air to protect yourself from not just creepy crawlies, but the bigger animals as well? I wonder. Poom, wow, what are we gonna do on the bed, Sarasa-chan? So nice and fluffy. Ability to repel insects, so it's not just a regular floating tent. Sarasa put her own spin on it. Some, what did she call it? Something control fabric, environmental tuning fabric, so cooling or warming capabilities, plus insect repellent. Perfect artifact for adventurers. Like, legit. The perfect thing to sell to them. It would probably be a bit difficult to sell here in the village because it's expensive, but there's plenty of gatherers around. You don't have to sell those to the farmers. You can sell those to adventurers who will make use of it, make really fucking good use of it, and who will be saving up their life's savings to get a tent like that. It can cool you, it can warm you, it repels bugs, it floats, it's extremely portable. I mean, the tents they have nothing on Sarasa's tent. You underestimate your clientele, Sarasa. And they don't seem to know much about which sort of artifacts are out there. So, if you display it and show how convenient it is, we might get some interested buyers. Indeed, that's one thing. Another thing is showing these people the limits or lack thereof of alchemy. Right? As I mentioned, after all, if Sarasa can make insect repellent, if she can make something that warms you up, something that cools you down, if she can make something that floats, can she make me a floating backpack? For example, so I don't have to lug it around, I can just drag it by a string. Can she make me a cooling pouch so that my food doesn't spoil in transport? Could she make me a heated mug, for example, so that I can enjoy a warm drink even in the cold, adventures, right? So it makes sense to show people what alchemy is capable of, so that even if you yourself don't have any ideas for new artifacts, those people might come with you with the things they need. And then you start making them, because if one adventurer would like to have a cooling pouch, chances are most of them would also like a cooling pouch. Maybe they don't know that yet. But if they see that at your store, if someone tells them, hey, Sarasa made me a cool cooling pouch, see how cool it is, I can enjoy a cool beer, even in this sweltering hotness of the lava lands, right? Loria does have a bit of a business sense to her. Probably learned a little from her father. But yeah, she's been thinking about the shop seriously. I mean, it's also her business to a degree, right? So it makes sense. Brought the honey, ate the honey. Thankfully, they won't die, but they're gonna shit themselves. And they're gonna wish they died. I should have explained better about the road fruit bee honey. Yeah, like legit, genuinely. I know that Loria wants to make Sarasa feel better about it here, but genuinely, it is at least a little bit Sarasa's fault. If I heard, hey, go fetch me some honey, I would go fetch that honey, and sure as fuck I would try it. It's honey. If you tell me, hey, go fetch some fruit, I'm gonna make a soup out of it, I'm gonna fetch that fruit and I'm gonna taste it. Because if it goes in a soup, it's probably edible. Same with honey. Honey is edible, honey is delicious. If you tell them to go get something edible, to get especially something like honey, you should, you know, tell them that, hey, I know it might be tempting, but don't try to eat it because you're gonna shit yourself. It's as if she told them to go fetch some water and they were thirsty, so they drank that water, and then Sarah says like, oh yeah, I hope you didn't drink any, there's a brain-eating amoeba in it. I sure hope you didn't, drink it. Talking about it post factum is, I know that hindsight is 2020, but I guess Sarasa learns from that to warn them about things like that. There is medicine, but it's super expensive because it's essentially a panaceum. It works for any sorts of poisons and whatnot. I like this bit. I like this bit. Sure, she's angry, sure, she's in pain, but please take care of Kate too. She's not just comic relief. There's a little bit of sweetness to her as well. I like it. I like multifaceted characters. I'm still not a huge fan of just how much of a comic relief she is, don't get me wrong, but it's nice to see that she's not just purely, solely comic relief. Getting some grubs, washing, and mashing. No time to dissect them one by one, she mentioned. Yeah, there's no time to dissect them one by one, so I'm guessing that's the trade-off. You can carefully dissect every single one of those bugs, maybe take out the guts and throw that away, maybe cut off the head, throw it away, just use the flesh, then perhaps cure it in salt overnight, and then you grind it, then you boil it for 72 hours, and then it has the same properties, or maybe even stronger properties, and it's palatable. Or you can skip those steps, just grind them up, mix them with water, pour some magic in. It's a disgusting slop, but it also works, and it was made quickly. I like this concept of workarounds. Yeah, I like that it's not just rigid formulas that have to be followed to a T, but rather it tells me that those formulas were actually like evolved over time. That perhaps initially someone picked up that grub, poured some magic directly into it, chewed on it, swallowed it, and it made them feel better. Someone then figured, hey, maybe try grinding them down and mixing with water so it goes down smoother. Then someone figured, maybe if we boil it, it's gonna get rid of the stench. All the stench is gonna boil out and, fly away, and all that's gonna be left is just the goodness. And someone figured maybe we can use salt to pour out the juices, the smelly juices, and it evolved over time. I like it. It really does add depth, a little bit of depth to. No, actually, quite a lot of depth to those recipes. Now we don't really hear of other recipes all that much, but I'm inclined to think that it is similar when it comes to other recipes as well. Yeah, you can have this Panaceum, but you're gonna get even more in depth, or you can get this Stinky Slope, and that's also gonna help you, and you're not gonna get in depth. Haha, funny. Of course, tent is amazing, portable toilet, perfect set for someone who travels a lot, who adventures a lot. Could be helpful. Yeah, very much so. Never expected Andrea's group to buy a floating tent, and why not? It's a super useful thing to have for an adventurer. Thanks to you, the gatherers have had more money to spend too. Yeah, because she bought the honey of them. It really created that sort of a small scale economy, right? Sarasa buys ingredients from them, they buy stuff from Sarasa. Sarasa then uses that money to buy ingredients, and then they use that money to buy items, and it just repeats itself. Kind of like a very simplified version of economy when you buy bread from someone, and that someone, you buy bread from a baker, that baker buys. No, how did it go? A farmer buys bread from a baker buys flour from the miller buys grain from the farmer. The materials just, tick around by one, and the money just goes in circles. It's a very simplified version of economy, and serves to show that theoretically serves to show that you could have a moneyless society because everybody gives as much as they take. Uh, Reality is it's not gonna work because there are people who take much more than they give. I mean, I know for sure, like 100%. If there, if we ever get to the point where our society is completely moneyless, uh, I wouldn't lift a finger. I'd be doing what I'm doing right now, just recording some videos on YouTube and playing games and live streaming. I wouldn't be working or anything like that. I wouldn't be making flour or sowing grain. And there are many people such as myself, so it has no right of existing completely mindless society. But that's a huge digression. Tent was truly splendid, indeed. And Father Dearest and Mother Dearest. Father Dearest looks like he's 16. They just slapped some patch of hair on his chin. Mother, I mean, she's an elf, so it makes sense that she looks 16. It's a dapper hat, though. Gotta say. What are they doing here? I don't know. How do they find them? I don't know. It's extremely, extremely surprising and out of nowhere. I don't mind it. I don't mind it. It's not like a dig at what's going on right now, but just walk through the door, not even saying a thing. Just they're just standing there, and what's your deal? Now I know we're gonna learn about it in the next episode. But still, it feels odd. On purpose, probably. Do these two appear somewhere? No, they don't. Potion sales, profit, other sales, profit, ingredients purchased. In the negative, fruit rot, bee honey purchases, antidote potions, floating tent sale. Floating tent sale entirely offset the cost of purchasing ingredients. And then some. Yeah. The tent paid for the fruit rot purchase from Kate and the other one, Iris, from Kate and Iris, from fruit rot bee honey purchase from Andre's group, and then there's something left over. Make more tents. Like, legit. Make more tents. Plus ingredient sales, plus debt payment. And she's in the green. And a fair bit, too. 192,000. And that's it. And that's it for episode 9 of Management of a Novice Alchemist. And what can I say? It was a cool episode. Perhaps a little bit too much. No, not even too much. There was a fair bit of fluff, a fair bit of comedy, of just, wacky shenanigans. I'm not gonna say it was too much. It did make commentary kind of hard because there's like 5 minute segment of them going to and fro a toilet and it's all played for laughs. What can I really tell? What can I really say about it, right? But I'm not gonna count it as a negative. Absolutely not. It just made my job a little bit harder, but I'm perfectly fine with that. Not much. Again, I want to say not much substance to this episode, but that would also be a lie. Because we got a little bit of character growth for everybody involved. We got a little bit of callback to the overarching plot of going through the alchemical tomes. We got the business side of, hey, it's not hot enough to warrant selling cooling hats. We should figure out something else to sell. And we have something to sell, but it's super expensive. Will people buy it? Right? There was a fair bit of things going on in this episode, so I did enjoy myself. This episode really, really kind of blazed past. Maybe I lost my, sense of time when it comes to anime or something because I haven't been recording for this long. But it really felt like no time at all watching it. And honestly, recording this video, it's already an hour and it feels like no time at all. Yeah, I did enjoy this episode and I'm looking forward to more. I'm looking forward to new inventions that Sarasa will make. And in the short term, I'm looking forward to seeing what's the deal with Kate's and Iris's parents. Why did they find them like at the same time? That's also an odd thing. Iris's father appearing, sure. Kate's mother appearing, sure. Both of them at the same time, though? Were Iris and Kate brought up together since childhood or something? Are they childhood friends? Or did the father and the mother, they were looking for their daughters at the same time and they met each other by chance? Or what's the deal here? I don't know. And it's intriguing. I wonder if it's gonna be played seriously or is it gonna be played for laughs. That's a question for the ages, isn't it? Especially in a series like that where you have characters ripping out the eyeballs of monsters and then you have haha funny poo poo jokes. Right? So their parents could be played for seriously or comedically, and either's gonna be fine. Honestly, either's gonna be fine by me. But yeah, I think that's it. I do think that's gonna be it from me for today. So maybe you guys have something to add, and if so, do that in the comments down below. What did you think of this episode, my reaction, my theories, stuff like that? No spoilers, please, I beg of you. If you want to talk spoilers, Discord is here. Also in the description, join it. There's a channel for this anime there where you can talk spoilers by using spoiler tags, and I'm not gonna read them. Everybody wins. Like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it, but tell me why so I can improve. Subscribe to the channel to be notified of future releases of not only Shinmai Renkinjutsushi no Tenpo Keiei, but also Symphogear Gundam Witch from Mercury, Arknight's Prelude to Dawn, Tensei Shitaraken Deishita, and am I forgetting about something? I might be, but hopefully I'm not. And also Madoka Magica, I'm gonna be watching Rebellion over the Christmas, so stay tuned for that for sure. I also stream sometimes, mostly gacha games, so you might wanna subscribe and click the bell to be notified when I go live. That was subscription. Support the channel if you want. Monetarily, Patreon Throne, links in the description below. On Patreon for $10 a month you get early access to non-seasonal shows like Symphogear, like Madoka, like other non-seasonals, and for just $1 you get a role on the Discord that plays in the credits, and I sometimes post some seasonal stuff like a day early or a few hours early, so that goes to the $1 tier as well. And on Throne, you can pitch in directly towards my purchase of better gear, better software, stuff like that. And if you don't want to spend any money whatsoever, share my content, spread the word. It does help the channel an awful lot and costs you absolutely nothing. And with that out of the way, that's gonna be it from me for today. So as always, you guys do all the good stuff, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Cheers. And here's the outro. Here's all my beautiful Patreons, and you can be one of them if only your heart desires.